Have you ever woke up in the middle of a dream and the dream was so interesting that you wanted to go back to sleep to see the end of it? If so, what was the dream? A few months before I got married, I had a dream where Bill Murray was attending my wedding and asked to make a toast. I happily agreed. Then, before I could hear the toast, I woke up. When I wake up in the morning, I usually have 30 more minutes before I have to actually get out of bed. If I'm having a dream before I wake up and I go back to sleep, I can usually continue the dream. Last night I had a dream that I was in some kind of resort Jurassic Park-like area. I went back to sleep this morning and managed to get into a relationship with a pretty hot dude who was working at the resort. I learned I could fly, but I had to teach myself. Woke up right as I was gearing up for the big test to see how high I could go. Forced myself back to sleep and lem tell ya, flying in a dream is way too effing fun. Was exploring a jungle with a group of, I assume, friends. We ended up discovering some kind of temple. But it was dark, so we decided to set up camp. I was charged with gathering dry wood and leaves for the fire, while macheting my way through vines. I heard my name being screamed by one of the group members in a terrified way. Repeatedly. Woke up to see my mom yelling my name and to get the F up already. I never found out what that temple was. I was friends with Jesus in the modern day and he was sound, not preachy. One of the lads like. I used to have lucid dreams in my early to mid 20s. As soon as I'd realize I was asleep, I'd start flying or just rising to the ceiling because it was a cool way to test it. Then my immediate thought would be WHO, should I pretend sleep with, and the excitement over that possibility woke me up every darn time. I once dreamt that all of my family and closest friends were on the world's largest cruise ship. Along the way, we somehow were exposed to radioactive waste that gave us all superpowers or other mutations. I remember so vividly being able to use my mind to move objects with ease. And I threw donuts at my brother, whose skin had turned as hard as stone. This one girl on the cruise that we all universally hated, for reasons I can't remember, received a really random and useless mutation. She grew a really fat lizard tail, like a leopard gecko who has eaten a lot lol. She was crying about how ugly she was now and all we could do was laugh. Then I woke up. I dreamt that I was part of some Eastern European resistance movement who had to speak in code and hide out in abandoned manors in the forest to plan our attacks against some fascist regime. We enlisted the Pope to help us. But when we went to meet him, he has double-crossed us because the regime we were fighting somehow knew the Pope was gay and was going to tell everyone. I woke up then, not knowing if my resistance group was executed, or if we escaped somehow. I call it my gay Pope dream. I died in one of my dreams, so that was startling, but I was dead for a good 15 seconds or so in my dream, so that was interesting to say the least. Not one single dream, but often I'll dream that I've met a girl that I'm madly in love with, and when I wake up I feel like I've lost a soulmate. Really strange and sort of depressing. My son is in the Air Force and has been stationed overseas the whole 312 years he's been in. He's in for 6 years instead of 4. So, anytime I dream about him, I want to go back to sleep to see him a little longer. I had a nightmare about being a teenage girl with a group of friends on bikes hiding from and hunting down a shadow monster that killed dogs, and we tracked it down to some abandoned house and tried to rescue the dogs, but one of the dogs started barking and I had to try and calm it down before the monster came and got us, and my friends screamed from another room at the door. Then I woke up and I will never know if those dogs survived. I had one this morning. I'm a heavy sleeper, and whatever goes around me tends to get in my dreams. It's a curse at times. But this morning I had an Amber Alert at 3:30 AM. And my dream went from being okay to my friends getting incinerated by a nuke. I was the only one that survived. But by the time I was about to leave the bunker to see the devastation, I woke up turning off the alert. I was eating the most delicious chicken nuggets ever. Hell if I know. All of my dreams fade away 20 seconds after I try to tell them to someone. The most I will ever remember is the feeling that the dream was awesome and that I want to go back. Never can. Most nights actually. I very rarely have nightmares, and even those are very interesting. Life inside of my head is much more entertaining than reality. I have a crush of 3 years who rejected me. Yet I dreamt about being with her as couples. I know this will never happen in real life. So when I woke up, I forced myself to sleep again. Unfortunately, that was the last of it. I've recently become disabled. My dreams are of walking without pain or a limp. I'm so disappointed when I wake and my disability is still there. I had one about time travel, but I had to look and be genetically different, and I went back time, but I woke up in the middle of night when it started. I think mostly just waking up from a regular good dream. I'll try to continue it the next night as I fall asleep. My ex and I got back together and she told me she's pregnant. I felt happy and fulfilled like never before. After I woke up, the entire day was so ruined I didn't even know how to deal with it. Just wanted to dream for the rest of my life. It was a dream where there were no debts, no stress, no pressure, no boss, no monotonous job, no homework. Oh, you wanted details? I have no idea. I just remember the weightlessness of being stress-free. And being in a hardware store. I had a dream that I had a bunch of birds and snakes just living in my kitchen. They were my pets. And I was cuddling my snake on the couch, watching Netflix while my birds were chilling out, flying on top of my fridge and stuff. It was a great dream. And it was so vivid that when I was waking up, I thought, crap. I left my snakes on the couch out with the birds. I hope they didn't eat one of the birds. I was disappointed when I came back to my senses and there were no animals in my home. But relieved that I wasn't such a negligent pet owner that my imaginary snakes ate my imaginary birds. My situation was a bit different. I was once having a pretty vivid nightmare about a zombie apocalypse. In the dream, I was running from a horde and I ducked into a random house. Time then passed. In the dream. And I put my head down to rest while I listened to growls coming from outside. At that exact second I woke up. I was relieved that it was just a dream because it seemed so real. However, about 10 minutes later I fell back to sleep and the dream actually resumed. I remember thinking, oh my god, this isn't a dream within the dream. The rest was even more vivid and terrifying because I was convinced it was real. That was a pretty tough night, but it was interesting how my dream managed to resume itself. And it did it in such a way that I was convinced the incident was actually happening. My small 10-minute wake-up period seemed like the dream. Playing bumper cars with Voldemort surrounded by Laffy Taffy. I wish I was kidding.